Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and I have got breaking news as the Jacksonville Jaguars, shockingly at least to me, have decided to trade running back Tank Bigsby to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for 5th and 6th round picks in the 2026 NFL Draft. So, really surprising news. Now, I will say, there was a little bit of talk about this. It wasn't that loud. It wasn't something that was really blown up, but I remember I was watching, it was the Goat House, I think a few weeks ago. He was talking about potential trade candidates, and he said that there was talk that it wasn't just Travis Etienne being shot by the Jaguars, but Tank Bigsby was being considered as a trade candidate, and that he thought it was more likely that Bigsby could be moved. I saw this, didn't really think a whole lot of it because it doesn't really, to me, make as much sense given that I think Bigsby is the let's call it the how do I word this? He's the mauler of the backfield. We'll put it like that. He's the physical bell cow type of back for this team. I don't think Etienne is as much that, although he can play a lot of snaps. And Bashal Tuden, while he has played hard, that's not really what I would describe him as. And so I kind of looked at it and figured, are they really going to trade Bigsby and get their one guy who clearly fits into that role on another team? Well, turns out they did. So here we are. The Jaguars now have 3 backs in the backfield. We'll see who they add as the 53rd man on the roster. But they're now sitting with Travis Etienne, Bashal Tuden, and Hines-Allen, who actually got a surprising amount of work on Sunday. So, new backfield for the Jaguars. New changes there. Now, just some context to this. Apparently, for the Eagles side of this, it's not mentioned in this tweet, but it was mentioned online by a few people around the Eagles that this trade was surprisingly more to do with trying to find a return man for Philadelphia than necessarily getting someone who's going to take a lot of snaps in the backfield as the backup. I'm kind of surprised by this. I know Will Shipley's done fine for them, but I figured Tank Bigsby would at least have some kind of role in the backfield. I'm sure he will to some extent. But this was not really what I expected to hear as far as the reasoning. He has had work as a return man, but I haven't really watched him and said, hey, this guy's like an outstanding player in that regard. But this is apparently one of the reasons why this move was made. It was also mentioned by Yardline Yoda, and take it as you like, that there were offers made for both ETM and Tank, and that the offers ultimately for Tank were better. I don't think this means that more was offered for Tank Bigsby. I think it's meaning more so that comparing the value of the player to what they were getting in return, that the value was making more sense to move on from Tank. Because if you're offering for either player, well, Etienne has struggled, of course, last year, you're still going to get more for him than you would for Tank Bigsby at this point, because the upside's just a lot higher. And you obviously saw that on Sunday where, Travis Etienne came out, had a big game, and people are talking about him like it's 2023 again. Hope to God it is, and so far it is, right? Hope that keeps up. So it was interesting to me. I think at this point, I'll say this. I was wrong on the backfield and how this was going to get dealt with. I thought the realistic outcome was that Etienne comes in, plays a little bit at the start of the year, gets back to his status in a good rushing attack with better coaching, hopefully better blocking, and then they move him. Is it possible he's still moved? Sure. I don't know how likely it is, though, compared to maybe what I thought it was before. And so I figured, eventually, it's going to be Bashal Tuden, and it's going to be Tank Bigsby leading this backfield. That would make the most sense. Well, obviously, that's not the way things went, so I was wrong on that. I do think still, well, Travis Etienne obviously had a great game on Sunday. The most likely way this goes down is that while I don't necessarily think he gets moved at the deadline, and I think it's harder to move him at the deadline now because if you do, you got 2 backs, right? Who's the third guy who comes in that you trust, right? Or are you that high on Hines-Allen as a running back too? That's kind of the issue now with that. You'd have to get someone else in. I think the more likely thing at this point is that, Tuden will probably get more work over the season. Maybe he even has a shot at taking over late in the season. I think you're probably watching, not Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne stick around for the rest of the year, hit free agency, unless he has a phenomenal year where the Jaguars feel like we got to bring him back and we're going to split this backfield between him and then Bashal Tuden getting some work as the RB2. Realistically, that's how I think it goes down, is I think that Travis Etienne is here the rest of the year and probably moves on in the offseason. That would be my bet right now. Now, as far as future picks, it's not updated yet, but the Jaguars are in an interesting spot because they have a lot of picks, right? But you don't have your first rounder. So the first rounder is gone. You got a second. You got 3/3. You have 2/4. You have 2/5 because you'll add on one from this trade. You have 1/6. You get one back from this trade. And then multiple 7ths as well. After that, everything goes back to normal. They have all their original picks and all that sort of stuff. So they have a lot of draft capital, right? And I think what this is going to allow them to do when we get to the point is you're going to see them making a lot of moves. You're going to see them moving up in rounds. You're going to see them getting aggressive. I'm sure they'll still add a lot of guys. It's early enough in their quote-unquote rebuild. I know it's not really a rebuild, but at least building the team the way they want it to. I still think they'll have a lot of picks, but I think you're going to see a lot of movement again. That's going to be the stuff James Gladstone does, and he's got a lot of draft capital to make that happen. So, interesting stuff. Not what I expected to hear on Monday night. But Tank Bigsby goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. Wish him the best. I think that he could still have a strong role in the NFL. Hopefully, he could take over as RB2 there. That'd be great to see for him. But he is no longer a Jacksonville Jaguar. So, with that said, appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to get back to watching this Monday Night Football game, and we'll see how that goes. But want to shout out our channel members first: Gator John Bites, Ichi Wiener, Nightmare Eco, Mr. Dolphin, Brian Foster, and Frangies. Thank you all so much for supporting this channel. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And finally, go Jags.